Welcome to another episode of Rose Resource Room. Today, I have a special guest with me today, Leslie. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
It is my pleasure. How's your heart today, Leslie?
Oh, that's a very, wow, that's a great question. My heart feels full.
Mm.
Um, I've had a really good day in the sense that it's one of those days where I've gotten to really slow down because I don't have a lot of outside engagements outside of the house. I have a couple of appointments that were canceled. And because I am slow, I have felt I've been able to enjoy my children. I keep finding myself trying to like pull them back to do work with me, but they're just like running around outside, doing things outside. But I've been able to feel so relaxed about that because I have time. But I also, my heart is just full in this season because just friends and friends of friends going through things that my kids and I have been, and my husband, but I sit down intentionally with the kids in the morning and we have our prayer times. But we've just been praying about just heavy things, around the world and
Mm.
in family members we know. So I feel full, but like not for bad reasons, just all the emotions. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, that's really, really sweet. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
So, I think we can start off with intros because you and I have just had a few interactions over email.
hmm
I'll quickly share how I even found out about you. So I attended the HSLDA conference in Nashville in September. So that's the Homeschool Legal Defense
Oh, okay.
Association. And I'm like, well, I'm in Nashville. What else is happening here? And then I found out that there was
Oh.
going to be a conference that you were speaking at. And at the moment, I hadn't heard about like anyone and like any of the speakers. And I'm like, where have I been all
Mhm.
my life? Like these people, obviously everybody knows them, right? So I started doing some research and I went down the rabbit trail. I'm like, oh my gosh, who's this Leslie person? I need to meet her. And I was just so intrigued about like whatever I saw at like 2 o'clock in the morning. So who remembers what it was now, right? And I'm like, I need to meet her. So here we are. I'm a mom of three. My husband and I have been married for 11 years. We have three boys. They are 10, 7, and 19 months.
Mm.
So we have a pretty full house and we've been homeschooling since 2022. So tell me about you. Start off with you, Leslie, the woman, before you get into all your
hmm
titles of mom and wife and all the stuff. Like what
Sure.
was exciting for you prior to having children?
Okay, so yes, my name is Leslie. My family, we currently reside in Central Florida, but I am originally from New York. That's where I was
Okay.
born and raised. And when I was living there and I was single and just living my life, I was a teacher and I was in education and I have been in the world of education for a long time. I've always loved children. I love teaching children. I love seeing. I used to joke around when I was in my 20s and say that being around a group of kids was so much more comfortable than being around a group of adults. I don't know. I've grown up since then, but still, I still have that. I'm just drawn to children that way.
Yeah.
Um, and then later on, I also got into graduate teaching, teaching teachers, and just I realized that I just like helping people.
Mm.
And not only, I guess, like sort of whether it's children or older people, just mentoring people through like the phases of growth
Mm.
and helping them see things and discover things about each other and about themselves. And I love that. And so that's sort of been like a theme in my life. But then when my husband and I had children, actually, we talked about homeschooling before we had children. And
Really?
we moved from New York. We were both from New York. We moved from New York to Central Florida. And when I was looking for schools to teach in, I wasn't really finding anything that excited me at the time. I taught in a very specific kind of school environment in New York. And then when I realized what the educational scene was in Florida, we were like, oh my gosh, when we have kids, we're just going to create this on our own. We're just going to homeschool. And Jordan, my husband was like, I have no problem with that. That's great. And so, and we've added on more reasons since then why we homeschool, but that was like the talk before we even had children. And so now we have four children. We've been married since 2007. I've known my husband practically my whole life though. We met when he was 12. So like
Aw.
it's hard. Sometimes struggle with how long we've been married. So I'm like, I don't know, been together
Right.
forever. But we have four children now and It's fun. We've always homeschooled. So my daughter, she's in high school now, and gosh, I mean, like she doesn't know any other school setting. That's my oldest. And my youngest are 10-year-old twins.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Okay. That's very, very sweet. I missed something. You have 10-year-old twins. You have a daughter in
Mhm.
high
Yes.
school.
And a 12-year-old son.
Okay, that's why I'm like, wait, the math is not
Yes.
mathing.
Yes. Sorry. Oh, I didn't mention the middle child. He'd be horrified.
I was gonna move on. I'm like, no, I can't move on. There's someone missing. Someone didn't get counted for. Got you. Okay, understood. I love hearing stories like when people are like, yeah, I was a teacher, and then I'm like, if you're a teacher and you're homeschooling, everybody needs to be, right? So that's interesting. But you actually plan to do it even before like having any
hmm
experience or anything.
hmm
That's
Yeah, for
awesome.
sure. Yeah.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. So, I read a quote that said something to the effect of, how does the quote go? Like an expert is a man who made all the mistakes in like a narrow field, right?
Mm.
And I'm sharing that for two reasons. One, I'm a productivity coach, and all that means is that I've grappled with productivity post marriage. I'm like, okay, who are all these people calling me mom? Like, everybody is trying to get something from me. I have all these goals that I had prior to getting married. How do I get myself on my to-do list, right?
hmm
And I had to actually redefine productivity to include
hmm
wellness and self-care and like all the things, right? So
hmm
the reason I'm sharing that is because you wrote a book called The Joy of Slow, and I want to hear
hmm
the backstory. Like before you started
hmm
to slow down, like
hmm
what even got you to that?
Oh yeah, because I had to make all the mistakes. But you know what? I've really one of the things that I talk about in the idea of slow is that it's slowing down to find balance, aligning your life with meaning and attaching your activity with what you value and
Mhm.
enjoying the process of it all. And one of the reasons why is because the process is imperfect, but that's what generates the growth. Like the growth is on the other
Mm,
side of that. So we are sometimes always so concerned with achieving like some sort of like balanced ideal or perfection in our lives without realizing that um, the process is the whole point, like
mm,
so we have to fail. We have to have challenge. We have to, those are the things that teach us. They teach us things about ourselves. They teach us what not to do. They teach us, but those are growth moments. And so, the backstory is like finally coming to this aha moment of like, what is it that really captures what I want out of this homeschool experience? How do I get it? How do we get there? All of these moms that I talk to, all these moms that I meet, it's not about what's your homeschool philosophy or what curriculum do you use. It's not about that. It's like, no, we just need to slow down. We need to slow down to see ourselves better, to see the experience for what it is, for what God wants it to be. We need to see our children, like really see them. We're so busy a lot of times doing things for our children that we don't even see them. We just think we're mom, we're handling it all. And I just think we have to slow down and be willing to fail. We have to
mm.
slow down and say, it's okay that I don't know and I'm figuring this out. Like that's what I'm actually slowing down to do. So
Wow.
I'm being productive.
Wow.
It's a good thing. It's so it incorporates like the good and the bad, the hard and the easy, the difficulty, the challenge, all of it. It's all good. It's all beautiful. It's all meant for for our growth, for God's glory, goodness. It's all good.
Okay, that is some serious perspective, and I am so convicted because you said something about, you want to make sure that what you're doing, your actions align with your values, right? And like, I feel
Mm,
like everyone goes into like, okay, this is my why. I want to do this because A, B, C, D, E. And then you're like, okay, now let me get to work, but it doesn't necessarily match up, right? And
exactly.
I've definitely been there where I'm like, okay, I want to be able to show my kids the practical side of it, right? Like, who wants to learn about an apple from a piece of paper? Let's go cut an apple. And then
hmm
and the kids are like, "Can we do science?" And I'm like, "Oh, skip." Like the same thing that I said that I was doing this for, I'm
hmm
skipping over, or like
Right.
the art and the nature. And I'm like, "Yeah, let's
hmm
go out. We need to get some fresh air." And then I'm like, "Well, let's get all the stuff done and then we'll go out." And I'm like, "No, why can't we do the
Mm,
things in the fresh air, right?" Like,
exactly. And then, a lot of times what happens a few years in, and what do moms say? this is not homeschooling is not fun. I'm not, this is not a joyful experience. It kind of feels like drudgery. It's like, I don't know, it feels boring. It's not. And then you're
Mm,
like, well, why? Well, the thing is that when you are actually doing things that you already find meaningful, those have value intrinsically.
mm,
So it produces joy. So of course things of course you're tired and burnt out. Because when people are working, like it's work, but they're working towards things that they highly value, it's life-giving. So they actually, it's not to say that they don't need times of rest, but they're not sitting there complaining most of the time, right? And so yeah, it's true. Like I think we struggle as humans to really align the things that we do with what we value, because we can think something is a good idea all day, but if we don't attach action to it, then where does that really get us? That doesn't really get us too far. You can say I really love when my children pursue their interests. So I love when they go after things that they want to learn, and then you never let them do it, or they say, "Oh, mom, can I do this? Or can I have time to do this?" And you're like, "No, no." Like the example that you just gave, which is the better science option, and then you're like, "No, scrap it, scrap it, scrap it," because it's like it just feels easy in the moment, versus intentionally carving out time for that and saying, "No, I know I value this and I'm putting action to it." If that feels good to do.
so you talked about like how things don't add up, and it's because we recreated school in the home, and then we're wondering like why it's not working, right? And I
Hmm.
had to start moving away from the word homeschooling for that very
Hmm.
reason. I'm like, I'm not homeschooling.
Hmm.
We're doing home-centered education, or we're doing world
Hmm.
schooling. Like I don't even want to use the word school anymore, right? So I had to
Hmm.
try to move away from all that because when I first started, I was like, what am I doing to my kids for 8 hours? Okay, here's the desk, here's the that, and I'm like, I don't
Hmm.
need 8 hours because
Hmm.
I don't have 45 kids. I don't have 27 kids in my class. If they get the
Hmm.
concept in 10 minutes, then
Hmm.
great. And that's
Hmm.
what I know logically. But then sometimes
Hmm.
I'm still like, let's just do one more problem.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And and sometimes sometimes language really does mess us up and the definitions that we have associated to things. So letting that go sometimes really is very helpful. Because a lot of times when you are at home with your children, right? And you just start seeing them learning and interacting with different ideas, whether you're sitting down and it's through a curriculum or it's through something that the family decided to do, a project that they're doing, or out at the grocery store. I don't know. You just start seeing how, no, like we learn in all of life, and we have these categories. When we send our kids off to school, we tend to associate that, oh, that's the place where the learning
Hmm.
happens. But when you don't have that, and when they're home with you, it all starts to blend together in a really refreshing way that you sometimes dropping some of those definitions and labels that are meant for that environment is helpful for sure.
I could not agree with you more. I used to believe, I wouldn't say it out loud, but based on my actions, I believe that learning happened in a vacuum, right? So it's like, this is learning time versus, no, we're learning all the time. When I go to the grocery store and I'm kind to someone, they're learning kindness, they're learning character. When we're
Mhm.
doing bacon and we're doing okay, let's not do one cup, let's just do half batch. That's math, right? And like, I know that intellectually, but it's not always easy for me to apply it. Like when I'm planning, I'm like, yeah, I'm going to do this and it sounds so beautiful. But one thing that you said really, really, really captured me was when you said something to the effect of the process generates the growth. And I'm
Mhm.
like, stop telling me to trust the process. Stop telling me to enjoy the process. Like, I want to follow the flow. I want to, I do, but what time does the flow start? It's like, that's my personality. Like, I need to know things. And I'm
Uh-huh.
like, so, checklist oriented, but I really want to be that person who says, all right, kids, let's just forget the schedule today. This is what we're doing. Or let's let's go down that rabbit trail. Like it's not like my things are timed. It's not like I say, okay, we have 20 minutes for this and 30 minutes for this. But
Mm-hmm.
sometimes, they want to go deeper, and that's where the learning is happening. That's where you capture them and they're interested. So
Mm-hmm.
let's go down that rabbit trail.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because, the truth of the matter is, even things that are learned from a book,
Mm,
when you think about what it takes to truly learn something for an idea to be cemented, that idea needs to be practiced over and over again. Or, a skill, let's say you're learning a
yeah.
skill, it has to be practiced over and over again in different contexts. You know that you've truly learned it when it translates from one context to another. Like those are all, I mean, you can pick just about anything. And that's like the process of natural learning that happens. So even when you think about something that you've interacted with a book, something that you learned when I was in, I don't know, whatever grade, and I learned fraction, not percentages and fractions, right? Like I might have learned it in the book, but where I always remember that being practiced is shopping and sales and
Wow.
being with my mom and just like quickly trying to figure out how much we'll pay for something if something was 20% off or
Mm,
30% off. Like, but it's like over time, and it wasn't one time, wasn't two times. Like, goodness, I'm probably still practicing in a lot of
right.
ways. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? And so, like, I think that we forget that too, that, like, sometimes we want them to present kids with something in a book from a book and they
Mhm.
learn it and they repeat it back to us and we're like, check, got it, they learned it, on to the next thing. But we don't ever want to say, well, in 10 years ask them again and see if they know it, because we know that the answer is
Yeah.
going to be probably not, if it's not something that they were interested in,
Yeah.
if it's not something that they wanted to dive into and explore more, if it's not something that they practiced many many times. um and so, yeah, why not go along with that
Mm.
genuine interest from the child? You already have that buy-in. Like there's so many reasons why that's a good thing.
There are so many reasons why it's a good thing. I can tell you so many reasons why I haven't done it. One of them being I'm Caribbean and the mom makes the decision,
Oh, for
right?
sure, for
No,
sure. Oh
no,
my
but for real though.
gosh. It's true though, but because a lot of times though, we all have these like hangups and biases. This is based on the
Absolutely.
way we raise, cultural ideas. And so like there are things we want to do with our children, but
Yeah.
we're just like something's getting in the way.
Absolutely. And it's
Yeah.
not until you peel the layers back that you're like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, that's the hang up? Really? I can move
Yeah.
past that, right? Because there's
Yeah.
some behaviors that are so ingrained in you that you don't
Mm-hmm.
even realize that it's your like knee-jerk reaction until you're like, but why am I doing that? And then you're like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, okay. Like even something is this is completely off topic, but I remember years ago I was like so exhausted and I was just like, I just need a house cleaner. And I'm like, I'm Jamaican. I can't have a house cleaner. I need to clean my own house, right? Like
Right.
something
That
as simple
just
as
in there.
that, as
Mm-hmm.
if it strips me of my womanhood and my character. If
Exactly.
really, right? And
Mm-hmm.
and it wasn't even about the money at the time because there were all these ads for $19 for 3 hours, like on hand in all that stuff. And I'm like, it wasn't even a financial hang up. It
I
was
get
a
it.
cultural thing in my head that
Mm-hmm.
said, no, you will
Mm-hmm.
not have someone clean your house. And I'm just
Mm-hmm.
like,
Mm-hmm.
so back to the education piece, like I remember a couple days ago saying to the kids, hey kids, I want to try some unit studies. What are you interested in?
Mm.
And in a space of like 5 minutes, they blurted off like 20 topics. And I'm like, oh, okay. And that's what
Wow.
we're doing now. So last week we
That's
did
so cool.
electricity and magnetism. That was not going to come to my head unless that was a science topic for that week, right?
Right. I love
This
that.
week we're doing ancient civilization. I'm like, another random thing I wouldn't have come up with. But to your point,
Mm-hmm.
you get the buy-in. But before it was like, I'm the adult, I'm the teacher, I'm the mom,
Mm-hmm.
I make the decisions. And
Mm-hmm.
earlier you said how you may meet someone and you're like, what curriculum do you use? That's me. Every time
Mm-hmm.
I meet someone for the first time, I say, hi, what's your name? What curriculum do you use? Right? Versus
Mm-hmm.
like I didn't even get into philosophy and approach. It was like, what curriculum do you use? Because I'm the shiny object syndrome, like, oh, I didn't try that one yet.
Uh-huh.
Let me go check that out, right?
Right, right.
Versus us actually creating something that works for us. Nothing against curriculum. Obviously, that wasn't the point you were trying to make, but
Mm-hmm.
leaning into the child interest and slowing down.
Slowing down enough to do that, and realizing that when you do slow down, you're also inherently redefining progress and success, because
Mm,
just because you did that, you might not have finished your curriculum book, you might not have gotten to the very last page, and it's not like you have to carry that into the next year and say, no, no, we still have to
yeah,
check that off. No, no, you're done.
you're
You
done.
did something else in its place that's
Mm,
just as worthy. And sometimes I think it's really helpful to always just whether you're, spontaneously creating things based on the kids' interests or looking through using a curriculum, sometimes I think it's really helpful to always consider, well, how far have we come? What is the progress
Mm,
gained? What has really been birthed out of this experience? Like to really look at that
mm.
closely, because sometimes we're so worried about the checklist and the stuff that's not done that we forget to consider all the stuff that has been done, like all the things, all the ways that there has been progress, and there has. I do evaluations. I have a teacher certification. So in the state of Florida, there are many homeschool families who need a yearly evaluation from a certified teacher, and the statutes of the Florida law say that the teacher basically is signing off that the child has made significant, but not significant, but progress, can measure it with their age and ability, right? I'm like, do you
Mm.
know how difficult that is to prove that a child hasn't made progress? Like, it's actually harder to prove the
Oh,
opposite.
wow. I like that.
But most people are so nervous about it. And they're like, are you going to tell me that we've done enough? It's not about how much you're
Mm.
doing. It's not about, I can have one conversation with a child and tell you if they've made progress
Oh,
for one
wow.
entire year. Do you know what I mean?
Wow.
It's so yeah, yeah. It's really, we have to really think about how we're defining that. Even just this morning, my kids and I, we do this once a week. I love writing. I'm a writer, and we do these free writing for 10 minutes in the morning, where
Nice.
sometimes I give them like a topic to just explore. But it's like, no, it's not about spelling. It's not about getting anything right. And I have more than one dyslexic child. And so, like, reading and writing are not something that came very easily. And so there was a time when I was like, "Ugh, why am I even like doing this? Because this is like torture. It's hard." Or they're giving me
Mm.
like three sentences, and I'm like, but I would always like affirm them and, find something when if and when they wanted to share after the 10 minutes, like find something to affirm, find something to affirm. This morning, I said to them, all right, I don't want to give you a free writing topic. Does anybody have any suggestions about what they want to free write about? So one kid said, I want to do practice descriptive writing, and I'm going to try to describe a fruit and you guys have to guess. And I'm like,
Nice.
okay. And another kid said, I'm going to write of the life from the perspective of our dog. And I was like, okay. They all had their own ideas.
Yeah.
And we all, free wrote. I was practicing writing poetry style. That was what I chose. And so we free wrote and we shared. I was all teary. I get so emotional. And I was like, wow, the progress. Number one,
Mm.
you guys thought and generated the topics for free writing today. Number two, we could not have done this a year ago. Number three, and sometimes we need to do that with the kids and just celebrate how far we have come. It doesn't matter if we got there as quick as someone else thought we should get there. The point is,
Mm.
God, we are progressing. We are making progress. We are growing. We are becoming better. It's so
Mm.
exciting.
All right, so send me your cash app for two reasons. One, my kids probably want to send you some money for like all the gems that you're sharing right now and like shifting my perspective. And two, like you are dropping like this is a message. This right here is like we need tithes and offering on this message after we're done. That's all I'm saying.
You're
But
so funny.
but for real though, like what you're talking about, like with the progress, for me, I think it's oh, we completed this book, we made progress. But what about just
Mm,
the topic in between? What about the
hmm.
fact that when you were doing subtractions, you were flipping this or doing this or not borrowing, not regrouping, not doing this, but now you are. Like, why
Hmm.
isn't that enough? Why does that have to be the end of the entire book? Right? Because I do
Right.
make a big deal about, oh my gosh,
Hmm.
you finished that, you did that, da da da. But like, I'm not as good as the smaller celebrating the
Yeah.
wins. And
Yeah.
I do that for my clients, right? With the adults, I'm like, celebrate the small
Mm,
wins, da da da. Like, you don't
yes.
have to wait for the big moment with my kids. I'm like, where's the big moment? Where's the milestone?
Yeah. Oh
Right?
my gosh. And kids need that too, because
Of
think of them, they're
course.
smaller. Like for them, those smaller milestones probably seem even bigger than they do for us,
Absolutely.
right?
Yes. Yeah, but
Yeah.
it's not until you're talking about that you're like, oh, okay, maybe I can apply that to my kids too. That would be
Hmm.
nice, right?
Yes, that'd be nice.
All right. So help me with this, right? We talk
Yes.
about like how do you slow down when you see all the gaps? Because I appreciate your transparency in saying you're when you're doing writing, you're focusing on the creative aspect and that's what you're affirming.
Hmm.
My brain doesn't work like that. My
Hmm.
kid would like articulate this amazing thing and then write it. I'm like, spelling error, grammar,
Hmm.
this, and that's how my
Hmm.
brain is going, right? Like,
Hmm.
how do you slow down? Because you said two things. One, the other piece was like, it doesn't matter if someone else thought we're supposed to get there. So whether that's me looking at a scope and sequence or looking at what public school would have been doing at this age, at this grade, how
Mm-hmm.
do you slow down when they're all those things? And then I'm going to complicate it a little bit more. How
Mm-hmm.
do you slow down when there's all this clutter in your house and you're like, if you guys don't clean this floor, there will be no peace and joy in this house. Like, how do you balance all those things?
Yeah,
I'm,
yeah.
I'm asking for a friend. This is not for me
Yeah,
though.
no, it's just for fun. Um, multiple answers, I think. So, like with something like writing, I think it's really important sometimes to separate all the things that we're trying to do. And because I love writing and I want my kids to see themselves as writers, because writers just means that you can generate good ideas. And so, just because you struggle with mechanical aspects of writing, I don't want that to stop you from seeing yourself as a writer. So, I'm going to separate the two. There are definitely going to
Mm,
be times when I'm affirming your ability to generate ideas and be thoughtful and imaginative and creative. And that has nothing to do with how you translate that onto paper. So I need to separate that. And at other times, then we can pick small moments to work on the mechanics of it and things like that. But I'm never going to stop celebrating and separating that for you because I don't want you to. So many kids hate writing, don't see themselves as writers simply because it's the mechanics of it is hard. But they're really two separate things. So there's that, and there's that inside of so many different things, not just writing. Um, I think with gaps, learning gaps,
mhm,
the gaps are inevitable. And I think we need to reshift our mind on how we think about gaps. We all have learning gaps. Um, Adults have learning gaps. The key is how we interpret them.
mm,
Unfortunately, we look at gaps and we want to say that it equals not being smart, it equals lack of progress, it equals failure. And that is so unfair to me and
mm,
so detrimental, I think, in terms of how a child can possibly see themselves. You know, like, can you imagine just because
mm,
you did not know the 10 answers on this 20 question test about a very specific, limited range of information, that I am therefore interpreting that to mean that you have deficits? Like, what? Like, do you, I don't, it's just, it's too much. It's just, to me, that's very unfair. Because the thing is that we all have gaps and we can decide when some of those gaps really should be closed, right? Like, if I wanted to go out tomorrow and decide to be a brain scientist, I have a lot of gaps I'd need to close. I can do it, but yeah, you know, like there's bodies of
mm,
information that are, so I think it's how we interpret them. And if you notice that there are real challenges that your child has, struggles that they have, learning difficulties, things like that, we don't have to deal with them in any sort of like crisis level management where everybody is scrambling, you know, um, because we've said, no, I'm going to slow down and I'm going to do what this child needs at this child's pace in a healthy way that allows them to see themselves as strong, as
mm,
smart, and as capable. What does that take for each individual child is going to be something very different. But if it means for one child, we're using one curriculum book for 3 years, but making progress steadily throughout, that's what we're going to do.
oh,
If it
wow.
means that for another child, we are completely tailoring this education to be something that you need differently than what I'm finding in other like we're going to consider the individual needs of each child. And we're doing that in a way that's progressive, but
Mhm,
it's not on some prescribed timetable. Because have trained ourselves to believe that we have to translate a certain body of knowledge between the ages of 0 to 18. And
mm,
and who decides what that body of knowledge is?
that's right.
Who decides that it only takes 18 years? Who,
Hmm.
who decides that? Do you know what I mean? I was laughing the other day because we have a friend of the family who is a vet. She is a working vet. And she was making us laugh and saying that she hated math and she did everything she could to avoid math. And even when she got to vet school, she figured out how to do everything she did with the least amount of math classes. And I was just looking at her like, this is like a funny story that we really need to hear because you think
Yeah.
science field, she probably knew all the math and science things. And she was like, no, I hated that. I just wanted to be a vet and practice vet. I'm good at what I do. But so you think of like bodies of knowledge and like
Yeah.
who decided what the core curriculum is for even
Mm.
like when you get to college, like who decides that that's the core body of knowledge? You have to really question that because it's different across countries, it's different across states. And
Mm.
so like it needs to be questioned. And is that really true? Is that really true? Is like there's like I know that's like a whole convoluted answer. That's like thinking about a whole lot of different things, kids at different stages and levels and ages as well. But I just think a lot of that needs to be questioned. It's not as clear cut.
So if I didn't know, I would think I gave you questions ahead of time and you just like prepped really, really well because I'm asking you like all these random things and you're like, well, let me tell you about this and that multi-prong question that you gave me here, let me attack that real quick. But what I'm taking away from it is there's this quote that I'm completely going to butcher, but it says something to the effect of if you judge a fish by its ability to climb or something, the fish will ever forever think
Mm-hmm.
that they're dumb. And that's what you're saying. You're like, really, bro? So the child did the subtraction backwards, and that's the judgment of their entire character or their academic progress. Like, no.
Exactly.
So
Mm-hmm.
like what I'm like on this call, what I'm really grateful for is community because in isolation I couldn't get these gems, right? So like just
So
being
true.
able to meet other people and like I've never met you a day in my life. I'm just like, Leslie, will you
Mm-hmm.
talk to me? I'm like, okay. Right. But just like having community where you can have these conversations saying, hey, this is what I'm grappling with. This is like you would think this is a
Mm-hmm.
coaching call versus an interview. But anyways, I'm taking my time.
It's
Um,
okay.
the point I'm trying to make is what I'm taking away as my joy of slow is aligning those actions with the values, right? So we talked
Mm-hmm.
about like harmonizing because like as you're talking, I'm not in my head, not out of kindness, but out of agreement, right? I agree with
Mm-hmm.
everything you're saying. I'm like, but I know that intellectually, but
Mm-hmm.
practically,
Practically,
it's
yeah.
right. Like theoretically, I
Mm-hmm.
know something, but I'm not putting it to practice. So I think for me, my joy of slow is going to be aligning the two, where something that I
Mm-hmm.
know intellectually, I'm
Mm-hmm.
putting into practice and
Yes.
just slowing down because
Yeah.
honest, like I'm not even embarrassed to say this. I can't change a tire, and I'm glad that I live in New Jersey because I recently learned how to pump gas. Okay, so I have
Mm-hmm.
gaps. So in my almost 4 decades of life, I have gaps.
Mm-hmm.
What am I expecting from the 10-year-old and the 7 year
Mm-hmm.
old and the not even
Mm-hmm.
2 year old?
Mm-hmm.
We all
Mm-hmm.
have gaps because we don't need to know everything. So if I
Yeah.
can focus on teaching them how to learn, not what they need to
Exactly.
learn.
Then you reconsider what is actually most important.
Right,
Like, so
right,
true.
absolutely. Yeah,
Yep.
I love
Mm-hmm.
calling out status quo. Like, but why? Why is that
Mm-hmm.
important? Like, who said
Mm-hmm.
that? Who said you need to know how to do that by 6? Who told you that? Right?
Yes,
I love it.
exactly.
Oh
So
my gosh,
true.
good. This is so, so good. What else do you
Awesome.
want to tell me? Tell me everything you know. She's like, go buy the book, buy the book. What else you got?
Oh my gosh. No, you're just making me laugh. This has been really fun. I wrote it's there's so many. You're so right though about marrying the two, the intellectual to the practical. And I think that we need to give ourselves the kind of grace that allows for that type of struggle.
Mm,
This is not always pretty. Like the figuring out, the marrying of the two, practical and intellectual, the trying, the failing, the feelings of failure, the feelings of inadequacy, the small wins. Like it's like such a roller coaster, but it's all of it. That's the part that we need to slow down and just
mm,
enjoy. I had a mom the other day tell me that she homeschooled 7 children, and there was like a 4 or 5 year gap between the first four and the last three. And so her older four always joke how their homeschool experience was nothing like the younger three. And but one of the things that she said was that they're all well-adjusted people, but the thing that was consistent with all of them was that she maintained relationship. And I was like,
mm.
now that's a word
That's
because
major.
yeah, how about we talk about that, as one of the like important things. Yes, learning how to learn, how to maintain healthy relationships to maintain a healthy attachment to that child, to be well connected. So many mom friends of mine who are now graduating their kids, and it's like, oh my gosh, my kids are in college now. Like I've done it. What? the things that they're like, wow, these were the most important things. They are never the things that they said were most important when they first started. It's like, wow, is my child can he organize himself? Can he go after and pursue knowledge that he wants to learn? Can he work well with others? Is he a kind person? Does he have a strong relationship with the Lord? Does it like it's the big things, it's the big picture things. So then when you back up and you say, well, how is it that I actually get there? How do I actually put those things into place? Well, it means that, okay, I want my child to be able to learn how to learn and have all those kinds of skills. Well, what do you need to put into place to get there? Is it like, what are the exports of Peru? I mean, maybe, but that's not, like
That part.
I'm not saying that that's not important, but we make that like the thing. And
Hmm.
it's like, maybe we should relax about that and
Yeah.
make something else, other things, critical things, the thing. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. It resonates so deeply.
Mhm.
Um, I want to share something interesting. So I went to the library last week, and as I walked in, I saw something. I was like, the joy of slow. Like how this was like such a case of serendipity because, I had just reached out to you, and then like we're going back and forth over email trying to figure out a time. And then I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna meet her next week. So I'm
That's
like
so
reading, reading,
awesome.
reading. And I'm like, okay, I can't read anymore because I have to write. Like I'm not a passive reader. I have to like
Oh yeah, yeah.
highlight and I have to
Uh-huh.
do all the
Uh-huh.
things. I'm like, okay. I just thought it was like really interesting. So I just wanted to tell you
Wow.
that.
Cool.
And my middle guy loves Winnie the Pooh. So I'm reading that. And what I love about that
Love
whole
that.
character is a simple life. So I thought it was like a good juxtaposition. So
Yes.
just wanted to share that.
Oh, that is so cool. I had kids who loved Winnie the Pooh too. We did like this whole like for like 2 years we like went through the Pooh stories and like studied nature things associated with it, talked about like character traits of the different characters. Like we just loved Winnie the Pooh. That and like, well, there's probably so many other things that we loved. But yeah.
So sweet. I do want to respect your time because obviously I can keep you here forever, but I just want to
I
thank
know.
you so, so, so much. This was
Oh,
like such a fun interview, and I'm actually going to rewatch it for myself because I have to go back and
awesome.
take notes on like all those gems you dropped. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much. This was really fun. I love that we just got to chat. I love that.
Oh yeah, these are my kind of interviews. Like, let's just get to know each other.
Yes. So
I
cool.
appreciate you. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.